How's it going, everyone? The Packers have another top 30 visit today, and it is with wide receiver from Ohio State, Emeka Egbuka. Maybe this is the year they go for a wide receiver in the first round. But Egbuka, he is currently the third overall ranked wide receiver on the consensus draft board. And depending on which draft board you look at, he could be 2 or 3. He kind of switches. But on the consensus, he's number 3. And he is ranked 33 overall out of all the players. And he's only right behind McMillan and also Matthew Golden, who the Packers did bring in as well. For his RAS score, it's a little bit interesting. Has a 9.27 RAS score, but when you look at the rest of his statistics here, it doesn't seem like it should add up to a 9.27. But he comes in at a height of 6 feet and weighs 202 pounds. Had a vertical jump of 8.79, which helped the RAS score. Then had a 40-yard dash of 4.49. So not the fastest, not the slowest, but definitely not a burner. And then had a shuttle time of 4.15. And if we're to look at all the wide receivers that ran a 40-yard time, his 40-yard time of 4.49 would have him tied at 26th best with Rock Taylor, wide receiver outside of Memphis. So not, once again, not the fastest, not the slowest. Kind of right there in the middle. Now, for Egbuka's time at the collegiate level, he spent 4 years all at Ohio State. In his first year, played in 10 games, had 9 receptions, 191 yards, and no touchdowns. In his second year, played in 13 games, had 74 receptions, 1,151 yards, and 10 touchdowns. His third year played in 10 total games, had 41 receptions, 515 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Reason for his lower stats in 2023 is because, unfortunately, he did have a grade 2 ankle sprain, which caused him to miss 3 games and also have tightrope surgery. But after the 3 games missed after having the surgery, he returned but wasn't in full effectiveness considering he was still recovering. And that played a big part in why he didn't statistically produce very well. Then in his final year, played in 16 games, had 81 receptions for 1,011 yards and 10 touchdowns. Over on the PFF side, for his grades in his first year, only had 10 targets, didn't do much, so 72.8 offensive grade. But in 2022, when he finally came onto the scene, with the 74 receptions, had an 83.1 offensive grade, an 84 receiving grade, and a 76 grade for drops. In 2023, even though he was injured, was targeted 60 times, had a 72.9 offensive grade and a 75.2 receiving grade. Then in his final year, targeted once again 106 times, had 1,011 yards, so that was good for 79.5 offensive grade and an 82.4 receiving grade. And for his entire time at the collegiate level, he only had 12 drops. 5 in his final season, 2 in that injury-plagued 2023 season, and then also 5 again in his second year in 2022. So didn't drop too many balls at the collegiate level. And then over on the run blocking grades, they didn't really grade him very well. He's pretty much stayed in the 50s. Started off in 2021 at a 59.1 run block grade, then followed it up with a 52.5. In his third year, 53.1, and then in his final year, 52.4. But he's actually kind of considered amongst some scouts an actually pretty good run blocker, despite the grades not being the greatest. So what are some of the pros for him? Natural route runner, wins with nuance and detailed movements, fluid change of direction, snap breaks well to separate from coverage, comfortable reading and weaving through high traffic areas with the ball in his hands, strong ball tracking ability all over the field. And for some of the cons, does not use frame and wingspan to fully extend at catch point, staying healthy, battled knee and ankle injuries throughout the 2023 season, physical press corners disrupt his timing with contact at line of scrimmage, and questionable top end speed to consistently win as an outside receiver. Now, something to note for Egbuka, he mainly played in the slot in his final year. He had, I believe, 74% of his total snaps came at the slot, and then the rest were on the outside. So really didn't produce as an outside receiver. And then, if you're to kind of look at his whole collegiate career, he shared the field with, and this could be a con or a pro, depends on how you look at it. He shared the field with a lot of top NFL receivers or very good NFL receivers. He started his collegiate career sharing the field with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. And then later on in his career, after they graduated, he ended up sharing the field with Marvin Harrison and JSN. And then in his final year, had freshman phenom in Jeremiah Smith, who's probably arguably going to be a superstar once he gets out of college. So he's always shared the field with someone that's really, really good. Now, why that could be a good thing, he learned from them. He had to fight for every chance to even be targeted to share the field. So he didn't really be like a volume receiver where he was always going to get the ball because he was the only dude. No, you have two other receivers that you want to throw the ball to, and yet we're throwing here over to Egbuka 106 times. So obviously he's not entirely a slouch. Yes, those names and players are really good, but doesn't discredit for him in the fact that he can't produce, or maybe he produced better because of those receivers. I'm sure it helped, for sure. But let's not just say, hey, that's the reason he produced constantly. Now, as for his fit with the Packers, I'm kind of not entirely seeing it. He's a great security blanket. He catches the ball very well. He finds the open holes in zone and is very, very good in creating space in a sense and just getting open. But once he catches the ball, I saw a lot of plays when I started actually watching some video of him to where he kind of just was either, I don't want to say caught, but he kind of just went down. He's not a very good run after the catch receiver, which a lot of Matt LaFleur and the Packers offense, that's kind of what they are. He doesn't have the super high top end speed, so he's not going to be the Christian Watson replacement to just pretty much make defenses scared and stay a little bit further back to create more space in the middle. So I'm not exactly sure where if he got drafted by the Packers, where his place would be. We have Jayden Reed, who's our slot receiver, and I just don't see him taking over Jayden Reed's spot over at slot, unless they want Jayden Reed to be the outside receiver and kind of take over that Christian Watson, but then it becomes, will his body hold up for the entirety of 16, 17 games, considering that's kind of what caused Jayden Reed to go down in production, was his body not holding up and kind of getting hurt. But that's a whole nother thing to kind of look at. So Egbuka, he's a very, very good receiver. He's potentially a day one pick. If he falls, it's not going to be very late to even probably the middle of day two pick. But where he fits with the Packers, I do question. At the most, he's kind of like a wide receiver too, but still we need a deep threat in this offense. This offense ran a lot better when we had a deep threat. And as of right now, that is Bo Melton and Mecole Hardman and maybe Jayden Reed. But otherwise, we don't have a true deep threat receiver that we kind of do need. But in where he could fit with the Packers, he's probably got the highest floor according to some scouts and could probably be ready to play in year one, as he's probably one of the more polished receivers in this draft. So he's kind of like a plug and play, like he can start, but once again, it's kind of hard to see with such a crowded, yes, it was an underperforming wide receiver, but crowded wide receiver room. But let me know what you think down in the comments. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and as always, go Pack Go.